Hey guys, and welcome back to Phasmophobia. Here's what you need to know about the Gallu, all of its abilities, and how best to identify it with little to no evidence. The Gallu is one of the most complicated ghosts in the game, as it has some very intricate patterns and traits that can make it very confusing. When you start off an investigation with a Gallu, it will always start in what is referred to as its normal state. This just means that it will be a normal ghost with a hunting range of 50% average sanity, normal activity level, and a normal speed once it does start hunting. However, if during this state, the ghost steps in salt, is smudged, or eats a crucifix, it will then shift into its aggressive state. In this state, it has a 50% decreased range of whatever tiered crucifix you are using, and it will be able to early hunt at 60% sanity. It will also no longer be able to step in salt. Once a hunt starts, the ghost will now be faster than normal, and the effect of the incense will only last for 4 seconds instead of 5 like normal. If the ghost ends a hunt while it is in this aggressive mode, it will then go into what is referred to as its weak mode. This is true whether the ghost started the hunt in the aggressive mode, or if it was pushed into this state during a hunt by either stepping in salt or getting smudged while it was in the normal or weakened phases. As long as the ghost is in the aggressive state at the end of the hunt, it will immediately go into the weakened mode. During its weakened mode, it will not be able to hunt until 40% average sanity, and it will have a 50% increased range from which it will be prevented from hunting with the crucifixes. Additionally, the incense's effect will last for 6 seconds during hunts. The Gallu will stay in this weakened state until the ghost either steps in salt again, gets smudged, or eats a crucifix, at which point it will go back into its normal state. It will stay in the normal state again until it either steps in more salt, gets smudged again, or eats a crucifix again, which will push it back into the aggressive state. This cycle will repeat until there is no more salt, incense, or crucifixes left for the ghost to be enraged by. This means, at some point, the ghost will remain in either its weakened or normal state for the remainder of the investigation. The ghost will never remain in the enraged state for more than one hunt, as it will always go into the weakened state immediately after the end of an enraged hunt. So, the most important thing to do is pay attention to what would make the Gallu go into what state, and keep track of it. If you put down a salt pile at the start of the investigation and the ghost steps in it, you know that would put the Gallu into its aggressive phase if it is your ghost. If the ghost hunted and it was fast, you know it should go into its weakened state. But if it eats a crucifix before the next hunt comes, you know it should then be in its normal phase. If the ghost eats a crucifix twice, or steps in salt twice after a fast hunt, the next hunt will also be fast, as you force the ghost to skip over its weakened and normal state hunts. Since a Gallu cannot step in salt while it is enraged, this is a great way to test to see if you have this ghost type before having to get hunted. If it steps in one salt pile, place a second pile. If it steps in the second pile, you can immediately know it cannot be the Gallu. Just make absolutely sure the ghost is actually stepping in the piles before concluding anything from this test. Also, keep in mind that the Gallu will not immediately switch to a higher level of aggression after being smudged or walking through salt. So, putting 2 salt piles down right next to each other for this test can lead you astray if it walks through both salt piles before it has had a few seconds to switch to another state. So, keep an eye on your salt piles if you have placed more than one at a time. This test will only be valid if 2 piles are stepped in after more than a few seconds has passed. During a hunt, you can test for the Gallu by either leading it through salt or smudging it while it is either in its weakened state or normal state to see if you hear a significant change in speed. Keep in mind, most ghosts will get faster in line of sight of players, including the Gallu, so these tests will have more obvious results the less amount of time the ghost has been chasing anyone. If the ghost appears to have normal speed during a hunt, you can also place 2 salt piles several meters apart and lead the ghost through them. If it steps in the first, but not the second, you have a Gallu on your hands. If the ghost appears to be slow, you can do the same test, but you would have to lead it through 3 piles of salt instead of just 2. These tests will not work if the Gallu is already in its aggressive phase. Once it is in its aggressive phase, there is no way to test for the ghost in the hunt aside from trying to see how long the smudge duration lasts, which can be very hard to measure. So that is how the Gallu works and how you can use those abilities to help you test for the ghost with no evidence. Now, I know that was a lot of information that may be still confusing, so please feel free to ask any questions you may have in the comments below. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you found this guide useful. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for future Phasmophobia and other horror game content. Happy hunting out there!